Well, hello and welcome everyone to another 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. It is going to be a sit-down edition. As you can see, I am joined by someone who I have followed for a long time. My fellowship, if you will, picked up during COVID with the Thursday think tanks and all the things that went on there, and watching that from afar and really seeing how it grew and turned into something great. So if you don't know her, which I can't, if you're on LinkedIn, I can't imagine having seen. I mean, she's always smiling, she's always happy, which is funny about today. Is the ever energized, but sometimes not, because it happens to us. All right, Kelly Searle.
Thank you, Sean.
How are you?
Good. That was a great. That I wasn't worthy of that intro. Thank you.
You are more than you know. So, look, as today goes, we like to have fun this year. We're trying to let guests pick the topic. We're trying to let people really get involved in their own content as it goes on the show. So I know that in the pre-show, we talked a lot about what's going on. So why don't you bring us up to date? Ev, what are we talking about today?
Okay. Well, before we start that, we took a little detour. So I'll share the little story with you. So Sean, you were so gracious to ask me to be on the show. So gracious. And I am so excited. And I came up with this really great topic that we were going to talk about today, which I'm really excited to revisit that in a little bit. But I have a confession that I've already made to you, and it's that I almost canceled today. And I feel like a giant jerk, but I almost did. And I would normally, it's wild to me that I'm even saying this right now, like on your show, because it's just not normally me. And, but I just kind of felt like I could share that with you because you're Sean Welsh.
I don't know what that means. The second time you said it, I don't know what it means. I'm going to take it as a positive because you're here and you didn't cancel. But it's, I mean, I don't know if I should be wearing like a therapist jacket or like what. People make me feel funny.
You should start charging by the hour.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm telling you what. I really should. But no, it's funny that you say that because I've heard it before, and I'm happy to be the person who helps people have the discussion maybe they wouldn't have otherwise had. So you were going to cancel on me because why?
So having a bad day.
Okay.
And when I say I'm having a bad day, I guess it's more than just a bad day, just having a rough time right now, a little bit of an off day. It's just been a rough few weeks, and it's just accumulation of some stuff going on with our youngest daughter, and trying to grow businesses, your own business, which is your blood, sweat, and tears, and takes up a lot of your time. And I don't think that we talk about that enough in this world either. That might be another discussion for another day, but I think we tend to all be so competitive. We support each other, right? We support each other, but you're just so competitive by nature. Sometimes you don't want to talk about how hard it is to grow a business and the ups and downs. And, you might not always want social media to see all of that, but it's very real. Like you can have a win and celebrate and be the happiest you've ever been. And then you can have a loss the next day and it just be like a punch in the gut, and you gotta start all over. So there's a lot of those things going on. And the irony of this is that I was ready to cancel because just having a bad day. And I finally checked my LinkedIn notifications, and you tagged me in a post that said, so excited to talk to Ev later, and she's going to bring us some positivity and sunshine or whatever, bring you some joy to your Monday.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like a bigger fake in my life than I did when I read that, because I was literally crying like an hour before then. And everything's okay, but it's just real. Like, we're not always just on and happy all the time. You can be a happy person, like a positive person, but you can still have, I don't know if we're allowed to swear. Are we allowed to swear? It's up in the air.
I'm going to take that as a joke, because earlier you said, because I'm Sean Welsh.
Yeah.
So I would assume everyone knows that on my show, they're free to say whatever the fuck they want.
Okay, good.
Whatever they want. So as long as the sacred Miss Dolly is not in the room and isn't going to be offended by the things that she hears, then I'm all about talking about wherever you want to go.
Shitty day.
There you go.
Where it wasn't a bad day. It was a shitty day. And there's a difference between a bad day and a shitty day.
I would agree. Yeah.
Which is the difference between that. And we all have them. We might not want to talk about them, but you can have a shitty day. And that's what I had.
But I think the part of that, what really struck me in our discussion, because we shared this commonality about each other, is that you're, as I posted, you are high energy, you are smiles, you are this, you are that. But that's hard work to do all the time. And I know that people find it to be natural of us. And to an extent, of course it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be. But when you call yourself a fake, and I want to say it to you in the pre-show, but I thought I'd save it for out here. When you call yourself a fake, I got to tell you something. It's really the complete opposite for me. Because A, you didn't care. B, you were going to cancel and didn't. And I mean, even your dogs agree that you are not a fake in that way. And so you shouldn't. Just please know that I would never view you as that, for someone to say that, oh my gosh, I'm Mrs. Positive, but today I have a shitty day. I'd rather you say, hey, I had a shitty day, than come on and be fake on my show.
Yeah, and I wasn't feeling it.
Like, really,
I couldn't do it today. Yeah. And I could, and see, that's the thing. And so it was either I was going to cancel, or I was gonna come on and we have a great discussion about the topic that I chose. We were gonna have a great discussion, but feel shitty the entire time. Just kind of feel shitty. But and it's like, you can also be a really positive person. Like, I feel like it is in my core. It's who I am. So it's not necessarily that I can turn it on and off, but it's hard when it's the only part that you see. If you're,
because like you said, it's part of the social media filter.
Yeah.
And it's not that I do the social media filter on purpose, right?
Sean, Sean, can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Someone's not.
Look, this is what makes these shows fun. I don't edit anything. So we had someone at the front door we needed to take care of. We have taken care of them. And we are now back to the discussion. We were talking about being positive and the idea of the filter and the idea that all people see is positivity, because honestly, who wants to post them being shitty or having a shitty day? Unless that's your bit, in which case, fine. It's not my bit. It's definitely not your bit. So to me, I think that's a real thing, that you're right. It is all people see. It is this idea that, again, this is like the third time today I've made this reference, but with you and Russ on the 60-second salt. The idea that I'm an outdoorsman is completely incorrect. I do not know how to pitch a tent. I do not know how to change a flat. I do not know how to hunt.
You have the whole world fooled, Sean. You have the whole world fooled, though.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's like this idea, like, no, I love being outside. Don't yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an Airbnb guy. I'm an Airstream guy. You're not going to see me in a tent on the floor. It's not going to happen. So I totally get showing people what, of course we want to show the best sides of it, but
yeah,
there's also, that's why I started the Mental Health Mondays last year, which is what today has turned into. So that's really cool. It's been a while anyways, but is to just, it's okay. It's okay to say, today sucks, or I'm in a shitty mood. As I told you pre-show, the last 3 weeks of my life have maybe been the worst 3 weeks of my life to date as an adult. And that's saying a lot, because I've had some really shitty things happen in my life, but nothing has ever really compared to what I'm dealing with now. And I'm private enough that that's as much as I'll say, and it doesn't really matter. But the point is, for you, I think that honesty today, I think that's a really cool step. And I'm really glad that you did it.
Yeah. and it still feels, I still feel like I'm disappointing you, like I still feel that, like, like, do
It's
you
mom
really want
guilt.
to
I
hear
talked
about
about
my,
this at
you know
pre-show.
what
It's
I'm,
mom guilt. I'm telling you, don't feel that
I know.
way. You've gone
But
above and beyond.
well, it's like a weird thing too, because like, you could take this a step further. And so we met through LinkedIn, right? Like
Yep.
that's really how we met. You're on LinkedIn for your business. Okay. And
The only reason I'm on LinkedIn, just so we're all on the same
right,
page here. I don't do any
right. You're
social
all, that's
media. The only time you ever see a post from me is about this world and this world alone.
right.
What I do is my business.
Right. And when you decide to, most of us, when you decide to create a LinkedIn account, you're either looking for a job or you're promoting your business. Right.
Yep.
And part of that is that, so especially in our world, a lot of our clients are on LinkedIn, right? And you open your world up, you open your life up to this like whole group of people, some of which pay you to do work for them. Okay. And it starts to get really weird because then what do you share? Do you share everything? Do you only share the good? Because you want to appear to people that are paying you money to do work, right? You want to appear like you're the elite, you're the best. And you can be those things, right? But still have shitty days.
Yeah. And you talk about showing the negative though. And that's something people don't do enough of. And I just don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'll never forget when we started CarBiz, we were at a group-wide meeting at a big group down in Chicago, and we had gone through and done their data sets and sort of given them like a red-green situation on what's good, what's bad. And we put the first slide up and there was like 3 slats of red and then a bunch of green. And one of the GMs just right away, he's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "What?" He said, "The red." I go, "Oh, well, that's bad stuff." He's like, "You're showing us bad stuff." I'm like, the fuck just happened? Like, of course, I'm a baseball fan, dude. Hall of Fame baseball players fail at hitting 70% of the time. How is it possible that you think we're going to walk through life and you're not going to have any? Yeah, I'm like, dude, let me just pause it right here. There's a bunch of red following this. So if you guys aren't like ready to have this, we should stop. And they were all like, no, we're just not used to the transparency. And I thought, fuck, that's weird. But you're right. That balance, I've obtained a lot of clients through LinkedIn. And so there was something they saw or whatever, and they reached out and you started a conversation. It's all cool, right? But now maybe they see me post about, me, I don't know, fucking having a bad idea about something maybe they like, or, I've unfortunately recently, when it comes to like some of the women's rights stuff that's out there, I've become very empowered to say shit because I really don't care what people think of me. But then after I post it, I realized that people that I do business with have completely different comments and completely different opinions. I think to myself, that as long as we can do that, and it doesn't have to be a finger point or a you should think my side or your way, then I think I'm okay with it. But how do you find the balance for, as much as you're doing as a parent, you have multiple children, you have multiple businesses.
Yeah.
What are you doing to kind of keep the sanity about social media, about the posting world, about being engaged on businesses?
Yeah.
What steps are you guys taking?
And that's a good question, because, and I think I should go back to explain that, we all use social media differently. Okay. And as part of our branding, we were almost, we are in a startup, and we had another company that was still new and growing. And this was like in the middle of the pandemic, and money's tight and you have to be resourceful, right? You have to come up with ideas that, that don't require large budgets to try to get, so LinkedIn was a way for us to grow our brand and free marketing in essence, and talk to people that we normally wouldn't be able to talk to because we're in the middle of a freaking pandemic and can't go anywhere. So, so we used it as a tool for our business. So then it takes on a life of its own, right? Because now it's a job. Okay. So it's not just a social media platform anymore. It's part of your business plan. Okay. Which has expectations all on its own. Okay. But we're all human. And so you start to share a lot about your personal life. And I just am who I am. Like I can't hide it. Like I can't just give a little bit. It's either, if I'm sharing a post, I have a very hard time like limiting myself. I just kind of go all in, and that's just my personality. And that's Justin, my husband. That's his personality too. Like, it's just, okay, if we're going to be on LinkedIn, then you're probably going to see a picture of my dog. You're probably going to hear, that I visited like 20 dealerships this week, and 19 of them told me to, get the hell out. Like, that's just our personality. But I am a positive person just by nature. I just kind of shrug things off and I keep going. So the balance for me, to be able to balance everything, is to kind of know when to take little breaks. And I'm kind of in that right now, and it's hard because sometimes it affects your business, because LinkedIn is a tool for my business, but I'm also human. And sometimes, life is really hard and there's a lot going on, and you just don't have enough time to do all the things, like all the time. You just don't have. And it can be sort of exhausting, kind of putting your all into everything all the time, because I can't, it's like you just get me or you don't, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, just as a parent of, so we have a daughter, Dolly, and we do have other kids that we really do like too. Like, I swear, they're like great kids. We love them, but they're really easy. There's not a lot to say. They just like eat and drink and like go to soccer or whatever. They're pretty easy. They're just easy kids. But there's a lot of like bittersweet stuff that goes on with Dolly. So she takes up most of like our attention. Like you don't know, like, so our oldest is 23. Okay. And our youngest is Dolly, who's 9, who has Down syndrome. And there's things that some people don't know. Like, I've been changing diapers for basically 22 years, like with no break in between, like there's like, there's medical things that go on too. Like, it's not just, you sometimes see a kid with Down syndrome and they're just happy, and like, you just don't think about all the stuff that parents are dealing with behind the scenes that are kind of difficult, including potty training a 9-year-old, that's, or the fact that 3 times in the past month, she has somehow escaped our house and ended up in the middle of the road with deadbolts, numerous deadbolts, and a security system, and 2 guard dogs in our house. She still has managed to get out. And the fear that involves is just, it'll knock you down and like feel like you just want to die when you think about the fact that like she 3 times, there was 3 times this month, like she could have got hit by a car. And it takes, it starts to take a toll on you. So that's going on while you're running these businesses, and while you're just being a normal human too, like going to the grocery store. Right. You got to do normal stuff too.
Keep the house running. You just got done putting on your event, I think, that you guys are always a part of on a yearly basis. You have all of those things. And again, I have the utmost respect for parents, even though I am not one. I think it's incredible to see what goes on daily. You talk about, having been changing diapers for 22 years and being in this position, and Dolly being who she is, and offering you this sort of bittersweet wonderfulness, yet it's difficult. And I think it's okay to say that, right? I think a lot of people with children with special needs don't really get that sort of enough respect from people to say, hey, can you imagine how difficult it is, for them as parents to say, I have two older children, healthy, great, whatever. My third child, right? And you're like, and then what roads you must go down and what thoughts you must have about how you got here or why it is or
that people don't know that, like, that no one would think, that Dolly tried to run away 3 times this past month. Like, no one would think that.
Again, for me, it's like, my gosh, what is she doing? This she's like this little pick artist,
Yeah. And my goodness, we say that all the time. Like, I don't know how she does it. Well, now
she has an uncanny ability, and she's picking up on something. She's watching you unlock it, right? She gets it.
Oh yeah, she builds chairs. Now she's strong enough that she can pull chairs in and stack them and then climb up the chairs like a ladder. But it's not just because I'm a parent of a child that has special needs, that doesn't even set aside. I mean, that doesn't make me any different than really anyone. Children or no children. I mean, we all just have crap like going on. And I think about this, like sometimes you'll post a picture on social media and you'll see a woman, okay, post a picture on LinkedIn just talking about business and she's polished, maybe she's in her car, right? Like I just saw this today, that's why I bring it up. I won't say who, but they and I know this person and they're like the most amazing person. They are a mother. They're the most amazing person I've ever met. There's a picture of them in their car and they're just completely polished and they're driving to meet a client. And I think to myself, God, I hope I don't wish this on them, but did they, like, before they got in that car, did they almost step in dog poop and like have to have 7 minutes to like clean up the kitchen and like fight their kid to get their shoes on and then have to worry about how the heck they're going to have time to even get something remotely close to dinner that isn't fast food for like the 20th time like this month. Like I pray to God, like, did that happen to them too? Because is it just me? Like, is it really just me? Because they look so perfect and like, like
yeah, I mean, like you said before, it's this idea that you kind of put forward the best that you can and the best that you will, and that people sort of lean on that. But this person, right?
Yes.
So you know that this person probably has their own list of shit that they're trying to deal with. But in this picture, in this moment, it is a smile ear to ear. It is side to side, etc. Again, see the occasional picture of Dolly. I would never think she was an escape artist. I would never have taken her down that road when I see her. And I think to myself, as adorable, because that's unfortunately where I go. I'm like the world's best uncle. So when kids do crude shit, I think it's adorable.
That's your job. That's what you.
That's it. That's what I do. Like, here, have fun, and then wait, hold on. There you go. That's your kid back. So that's my gig. But when I watch and I listen and I see how you talk about it, you are just like everybody else because everybody else has shit. But there is more to it than that, I believe, because even just, let's just say a parent, it is different because parents, and I'm an animal parent, and so right, you're an animal parent, and as animal parents, you'll deal with loss far more rapidly than you will ever with children parents. God willing, okay, obviously, we're all those things. That loss. It is no different. I mean, in my office, on the other side of this camera, are my 2 first dogs ever. And they're in my house everywhere. They're in a poster or a picture or whatever. And it's because that's the biggest thing that I have ever committed myself to someone else besides my wife.
Yeah.
And when those losses happened, I was distraught. I was an absolute fucking mess. And the only way that I could even present on social media is because for a long time, I did when I felt the vibe, I do 10 shows in a day. I would just sit in my office and just boom out content and then just release. And it made it easier because this came up and I was like, well, I got 6 things in the queue. So I got 6 weeks to get my shit together before I have to put myself back in front of a camera and let people see or hear or know whatever that is, right? And so
that takes it out of you too, though, Sean. Like, you don't talk about that. Like, if you've got to be on for the camera, because I've done it too. Like I've done it too. You've got to be on for the camera all day, or like you've talked about making videos. And then when you're done, it's literally like someone like you're a balloon and someone pops you and you're just like, Like, it's tough.
I do. And like I said to you in the pre-show, it's my job to produce content for clients, to have them understand their data, have them understand what they're spending money on. And so doing that 300 times a month for 3 minutes, 900 minutes a month, it's hard. It's really hard. And it's why I didn't want my company to grow too big. Honestly, I was just having this discussion with my wife today because it seems everything I turn into this year, the company continues to grow and it brings us to some new level of taxes or fucking employment fees or something the government wants from me or something my bank thinks I should be on a bigger package because I make deposit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Every time I turn around, it seems like someone's trying to kick me in the nuts for having a successful business. It's really frustrating me.
Yeah.
But as my wife said, she's like, but are you going to complain about these things? And I'm like, yeah, because they're still my problems. I know that they're trivial to someone who has someone dying or then I get it, but they're still mine. And they're still frustrate the shit out of me. Yeah. So I think
it's true.
Even if it's not, earth shattering or changing the world,
Your problems, no matter what they are, they don't diminish someone else's problems. Even if in your head you feel like their problems are bigger than yours, like what you're feeling doesn't diminish what someone else is feeling, And
how do you deal with the comparison of problems? You know what I'm saying? Where you're like, oh, this is my problem. And then there's always that someone who's like, really? Well, here's the 37,000 terrible things that happened to me. And you're just like,
yeah.
Couldn't we have just like, you know what I mean? Though, like,
yeah.
What do you do with that? What do you do with the?
That's funny because this is really funny. And this is, I know, not to stay on the whole parent thing. But I do have I have a story for you. So my husband, Justin, he's, I call, it's funny, but he's like, I always say this, like, he's a lion. That's what I call, he's my big lion. Like he's just big and loud and just like so much, And he's like that, with our family too. Like he's like that with our kids. So, we had a pretty good fight going on for years about parenting with our kids in regards to like problems that they were having. And it was just something that we could not agree on, just head to head for years. So our daughter, I remember like our daughter waited until the last minute and she had to buy something for, I think it was some kind of special shoes for dance. She knew she had to get them. And she waited like weeks and weeks and maybe over a month, knew. And the night before she had like a panic attack because the next morning she had to have these shoes. So we had to go get her these shoes and everybody's tired. No one feels like going to get these shoes. And my husband, I think he basically told her, well, it's not my problem now. You waited too long and you didn't tell me. And they're just shoes. You're going to go without these shoes. It's not a big deal. Do you understand like how much I have going on in my life right now? Do you know the stress I have going on in my life? I promise this gets good. It gets better. He wasn't a jerk. Just I'm telling you, there's
look. No, I'm listening and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I could have been a parent because that's my attitude. Right? My guess is this is changing, but right now I'm like, oh well, fuck yeah, not my problem, kid. Go figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a parent, so all right.
Yeah. So he's like, suck it up. There's far more bigger things going on in life right now than these shoes that you need, and it's your problem that you don't have them or whatever. So she's just devastated and just loses her mind. I mean, loses her mind like a horrible tragedy has just come upon her and she just is devastated. And he's like, I don't understand. I don't understand like why this is so bad. Like, I don't understand why she's making this into such a big deal. And there was some tears and some screaming and that it was like the breaking point that night where everything changed. And she said something and we had this big family talk. And basically what she said is, just because it's just shoes to you, it's not just shoes to me. And you have problems, but my problems are important too. Like, you talking about work, like these shoes are as important to me as you talking about work. And they're like, it still hurts me as much. And I'm still as angry as you are about your problems. Doesn't matter that it's shoes. And it's like this light bulb went off, and he just completely from that day on changed his way of thinking about things. And he'll be the first to tell you, like, if he's having a bad day, or if he's upset about something, and someone else has something going on, he's really good at like acknowledging what someone is going through, because it doesn't matter, like, if maybe you just like bumped your car into, I don't know, a mailbox or something, and somebody else has some kind of horrible tragedy going on in their life. It's okay to be upset about hitting the mailbox.
Yeah.
It's okay to be upset about shoes, even if there's these bigger things going on. It's okay.
Agreed. And again, my problem there is definitely the procrastination. That's definitely, I could not have let that bone go.
I would give you that.
I would have been like, you know what? You're absolutely right, sweetheart. My problems and yours are the exact same, only you've been fucking off for 4 weeks about your problem, and that's not my problem. So
Yeah.
if you would have told me 4 weeks ago, I'd have gone, paid cash on my way home, bought these things for you. I'd have probably bought nicer ones than you even imagined. But you didn't, and now you're going to go wear your old ballet shoes and fucking deal with it. And again,
that was his argument.
I'm sorry, he's totally not wrong. There's nothing wrong about that. And it's, my wife and I have this ongoing joke, you just pick a number. So in this case, I'll call it number 247, why Sean's not a parent. Because Sean would not let that go, would not, even if she cried into attention, I would put her ass in school the next day with the shitty shoes, and she would be unprepared, and she would feel like an asshole, and she'd hate my guts. You know what? Should have told me 4 weeks ago. So Justin, buddy,
he's going to be very happy to hear this.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. No, I'm not a parent, so he shouldn't be. He should know that I consciously knew I would always say that to someone.
Yeah.
Like my brother and I, we kind of bump heads. Not. I guess more. It's more my parents and I over my brother's kids, because when we're all hanging out together and there's nonsense, I'm like, nonsense. This is bullshit. I don't care how old you are. Stop crying. Get out of my way. Whatever. And everyone's like, Sean, he's 11 years old. I'm like, yeah, and what? Like, if the words can come out of his mouth, then the reaction of what I say can go back in his fucking ears. So get him to figure out the problem. And no, Jesus, Sean, I told you earlier, not a parent, so you don't comment on parent shit. But if your kid brings his shit to my plate, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah, and that's probably why you're the favorite uncle, though. You probably are the favorite uncle.
I think that's in my own head. I think that's in my own head. I think that's real. I think
no one's actually told you this.
Maybe because I dedicated myself. So like, we have 5 nephews. There are no nieces. 5 nephews, and that's the length at which we have to party, my wife and I. So about 2 years ago, I realized that kids just didn't give a shit about gifts. They just don't. They just don't. What they like is the long green. You give them the cash. So I said, look, everyone's birthday, Christmas, just give them $100. Every year, just birthday, just give them $100 each time.
My kids would love you. They would love that.
So I think maybe that's why they love me. And typically in my life as a car guy and car kid, my quickest way to people's hearts was with my money. I'm not ashamed to admit that my house was full of people who knew I had money and were happy to suck off of whatever was available to them, as it were. So I know that about myself. I don't really care because I know why I do what I do, and it brings more joy to people to have them have a dinner bought for them than it would be to have me think about splitting the bill 4 ways. It just sounds annoying. So it's just like so let's talk about this real fast though, because you're being very open, you're being very honest about all of this, and I really, really appreciate it. So when you look at your business, as you and I are both business owners, people trying to grow businesses, how are you finding the balance of life and work? Because you are much like me. You work with your husband. Yeah. I work with my wife. My wife and I were in the midst. We've been asked, people for years have asked us to do a podcast because we're really weird and we're really eccentric people, and we spend 98% of every breath together. That's
how my husband and I are.
And so we're starting the Always Together podcast to just talk about our journey and other things. Then we want to have couples on. I'd love to have you and Justin on. Just talk about real couple shit. Because I think most people just like, oh, well, here's how you have the perfect relationship. And it's like, no. Let me tell you about the one day she threw me out of my fucking house. How about we talk about that day? And everyone, no. So how do you and Justin find a way to balance the logo, the love?
Yeah, this is a great question.
I know for a fact, both of you have this rolling in your house.
Yep.
So tell me, how do you do it?
Well, I will tell you that it gets easier, and it wasn't always easy. That first year, oh man. I mean, so this is, you get married, right? And you don't, I guess maybe there's situations where this has happened, but when you get married, when you meet a person and you're dating, you don't think, oh, gee, I can't wait to be a business partner with them 15 years from now. Like,
my wife, it's just no way. There's no way, because I've been a car guy my whole life, and she's like, look, I'm happy to take your money, but that's as far as I want anything to do with your business. Like, I'll invest it for you, I'll save it for you, I'll do all these great things with it, but just don't ask me to be a part of the car business. Don't ask me to be a receptionist. Don't ask me anything. So she totally just this. So I get it.
And like, that's, for Justin and I, it was, we are just, it's like our personalities, like we're on like that. We have a lot of energy. We have a lot of, he's much louder than me, but we just kind of vibe together. So you get married, right? And you vibe, you're together. It's a great relationship, right? Great marriage. But just because you're married and it's a great husband-wife relationship doesn't always mean that you're going to be great business partners. You got to learn that shit. It doesn't come natural. It does not come natural. You have to work. You have to learn how to talk to each other, because, Justin could walk into a dealership and say something to someone and it just bounced right off of them because they're not married to him. So, you're it can bounce right off. But if he says that to me,
it's a whole different problem, right? Like I tell people all the time, the only person who can ever talk to me in any way that is anything negative is my wife. She's the only one, and she's typically the only one who ever will, to be honest with you. Most people have this weird, I don't know, around me where they're just like, they don't, even if I'm an asshole, people are like, oh, that was funny. Like, no, I'm an asshole. Like, just say it already. And people just don't.
Can your wife say that to you? Can your wife, because I say that, good.
Every time.
Justin and I do that. We
just had a scenario the other day. As I said, the last 3 weeks have been shitty. And someone in a bank drive up decided to engage me. And I lost my shit. I almost ended up in the local jail. And it was I came home and I was like, honey, here's what happened. She's like, you dumb asshole. She's like, how would you ever, do you have any idea what that would do to your record, what it would do to our business, what it would do to our life? And I'm like, wait a second. I was standing up for myself. This guy, and she's like, no, you're 40 years old. You just drive past. I'm like, no, fuck that. That's no. And so it, and it sort of escalated. It got kind of hairy.
That same scenario just happened at the Dollar Tree a week ago with Justin and I swear to God. So we were in the Jeep. He says he didn't cut this lady off. We're in the car. The Dolly's in the back seat. The roof is off, so everything's open, right? He claims he didn't cut this lady off. She starts giving him the finger. So I can't even describe it. You won't be able to hear this episode.
Justin's a car guy. I'm a car guy. We're both loud and obnoxious. Yeah. He's got me probably by about 10 inches and maybe $140 in weight, but it doesn't matter. The point is, dude's got me, but I get it, because that's who I am. Like you're coming at me and my family, and that's not cool. But your daughter was.
I told him.
I tried to
an asshole, Justin. I was like, she's acting like that because you're being an asshole. Stop.
Yeah, but she's the only one that can do that. She's the only one that does. People always talk about like trolls and negativity on their posts, and it's not something I've ever dealt with. I've never gotten some weird, and I don't know if it's because my wife will say it's because you're a white male in his 40s, which I get. Okay, fine. She's probably right.
I get a lot of weird stuff. I get a lot of strange.
Dude, I had on Oh, I had April Palmer.
Yeah.
April Palmer on my show, and she shares with me this like horrific human story, and I wanted to cry and throw up and like and just like completely chastise my entire gender, and I just like that kind of stuff. But I don't have trolls. And someone said, "Why is that?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know if it's because I will not let you do that. Like if you come on my post and say something stupid, I'm going to say you're stupid. I'm going to say it's stupid. Take it somewhere else."
Yeah.
And it never happens. But for you as a woman, I feel like you guys are up against it like in a weird, like LinkedIn turned into this like weird.
Sean, you don't even know.
It's so depressing and weird.
There's some stress. I remember like so when I started posting and really like maybe my posts were starting to get to people that like weren't my connections. And so when people started commenting that like I didn't really know, I started getting a lot of fat stuff. I mean, just a normal picture. It could just be a normal picture. And she's so fat. Like, you need to lose weight, like things like that. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, are you serious? But it didn't bother me. I just shrugged it off. And in fact, I have a business idea that I've actually told a lot of my friends this. I have a business idea. Every time someone makes a nasty comment on my LinkedIn, I'm going to take a screenshot and I'm going to print it on a t-shirt and I'm going to sell the damn t-shirt. So I'm going to try to find a way to make money off of it.
Look, I love it. I love it. I've talked with people before who've said, "Oh, I
wear the nasty comment."
Yeah, I delete it. I get rid of it. I'm like, no. I let it live. Somebody had said something on my post that was it was very gross and disgusting. It was racist and it was all these things. And I said, dude, I don't know where you think you are, but on my post, in my world, this shit is unacceptable. And I'm not going to delete it because I'm not someone who, I don't want to whitewash history. I'm not someone who can go back and cancel someone for whatever they did 20 years ago, because in that moment, in that time, things were different. And if we keep acting like and removing words from books and doing all these things, acting like they didn't happen, we're not doing ourselves any service here by doing that. You have to, I don't like some of what happened in the past. Of course, I'm a human, but to act like it didn't happen is sort of weird and nonsense to me. So with people like that, I love it. I would post it. The other one that I love that April told me about is to take the screenshot and then send it to their boss on LinkedIn.
Oh, I love that.
It was dope. It was a dope idea. And I'm like, good for you. And she's like,
you know what? We should just find their grandmother. Why don't we just send it to like their grandmother?
Go deep, go do some social sleuthing and be like, oh, wow, I see you're on Facebook and this is your whole family. Wonderful. Hey, family, check this out. Boom. Now, don't be surprised if he's come from a band of shitheads, though. All right. So don't be surprised. We're like, we totally agree, blah, 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 because I find that shitheads tend to band together. So it's part of life in that way. But as we sort of wrap this up, because you've been so gracious with your time and you've fought through it today. You put on the smile. As my mom says, you must fake it till you make it. I know a lot of people don't like that comment. I think they're all taking it way too fucking literally, people.
Yeah, I like it.
My mom said it to me as a kid. What she meant was, even when you wake up in that shitty day, you still got things you got to get accomplished. So get them accomplished and then go cry yourself to sleep. No one really cares. Just you got to
like your mom. That's
Mom's has got those, she's got those nuggets throughout life that no matter what, she'll always be living in the back of my head. My dad too. I'm fortunate that way. But as we wrap it up, what advice do you have for the couple in business? Because I don't feel like we got all the way through your statements there, and I feel like you had more to say. So what would you say to the couples in business? Because I feel like it's a growing thing right now for more of us.
There's a lot of people. I have two things. Okay. Don't take it personal. That's the number one. It's so easy to take it personal. Like, when you work together, I mean, it's never perfect for anybody. I mean, any business, you have losses, and you just can't take it personal. You have to take criticism, and you cannot think that that's a personal attack by your spouse. It's just doing business. That's all it is. It's just doing business. So that's my biggest thing. The next thing is to make a big deal out of the small things that are good, to make a big deal out of the good things, make them into a celebration, find joy and maybe over exaggerate those wins to each other and find a way to celebrate, because you have to, because it can't just be working with each other every day and no joy, no, you have to have something to look forward to. That's what I'm trying to say, because it's hard. You're like any other person. Even if you don't work with your spouse, I mean, having a company is hard. Working for a company is hard. Working is hard, it's hard.
I totally agree. I love that too. I mean, my wife is my CFO, right? So, and she's the producer of my solo shows. This one's done on Zoom, so she always loves when I do interviews because she doesn't have to be in the room. She doesn't have to be behind the camera. She's always happy to not have been there in the room to listen to me talk to myself. But as my CFO, there's things that's like, hey, I don't, when we started the company, I was in bank accounts daily. Like I was always like, whoa. And then she finally came to me. She's like, look, why am I here? I'm like, well, you're here to deal with the money. She's like, then take the apps off your phone. Don't ever go back into another banking app again, because all you do is look at it and then you bring stress into my room and you
overanalyze
about shit you don't know nothing about. Yeah. So just do me a favor and just stay over there and let me do this. And I deleted them off my phone. And oh my God, my life changed. Like it allowed me to do that. Yeah. And then I realized I was doing the same thing to my business partner. I was like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And he'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Like we already. And then I was like, okay, oh, you're right. That is your part of the business. And so
it's hard to do that though. It's hard because we've got that personality. It's hard.
So hard because I thought I was already supposed to be on the yacht in year 2. I didn't understand this whole like.
Yeah, we were so dumb.
Yeah,
we were so stupid.
At? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing flying commercials still in year 2? Like, my mind is blown. That's not what they said would happen.
Why are we still clipping coupons?
Like, why are we here? Our first 3 years, I paid myself less money than I made in high school, for Christ's sake. So it was just like, what am I doing? Like, why did I agree to this idea? But I agreed because I wanted to make my own road. I didn't want to have anyone else tell me how to run my business, because I've been working for people, watching them fuck their businesses up and not listen to me on how to fix it. And I just got tired of that. And I decided to have my own. So you're great. You absolutely, you're great. You brought it today. You were the farthest thing from a fake or a phony or any of that. You were as honest, open, and without being too cliche to everyone that talks about it. You were so you and honest. And I really love that. Authentic, I think, is the word I was searching for. That's authentic. And in a way that I don't think maybe you thought it was when you started, but I hope you feel different now that you've spent 40 plus minutes chatting with me.
I felt guilt. I just felt a lot of guilt, but I feel so much better now because you're Sean Welsh. You can tell Sean Welsh anything.
Well, I'm going to take your word for that. As I said earlier, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on. Ev, if people want to find you, where should they do it?
LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to find me. Send me a message on LinkedIn and you'll find my email right on there.
Great. Excellent. Well, thank you again for doing the show. We truly, truly appreciate it. And everybody, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. I hope you really understand what the whole concept of a mental health Monday is. This is what we were talking about, people. It is okay to be positive 95% of the time, 90% of the time, 80% of the time. Shit, use a baseball reference, maybe even 50% of the time. But it's also okay to have a shitty day, as long as you can admit that that is what it is, not get stuck in it, have it, and move forward. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to you joining us again next week. Great job.
Thank you. And Justin, do you want to say hi to Sean real quick?
Sure. Justin
just walked in the door.
Justin.
He's the one that told